Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something real today. There is one boundary, one simple line you draw in the sand that will leave a man missing you every single day of his life. It's when you finally decide that your peace, your joy, and your self-respect are not up for negotiation. The moment you place yourself at the top of your own list, that's when everything changes. That's when he starts to feel your absence in ways he never felt your presence. The boundary of valuing your peace makes him realize your worth in ways words can't describe. When you finally make a decision that your mental, emotional, and spiritual peace is not something you hand out freely, everything around you shifts. People feel it. Energy changes. And the very man who once thought your patience was endless suddenly begins to understand that your peace is your power. When you start valuing your peace, you stop entertaining conversations that drain you, you stop showing up for situations that don't honor you, and you stop allowing people to disturb the stability you worked so hard to build within yourself. That's when he begins to miss you. Not because you're playing a game, but because you're protecting what's sacred inside you. When a woman values her peace, she becomes different. She becomes lighter, calmer, more selective, and more grounded. And let me tell you something, men feel that change instantly. They feel the distance even if you say nothing. They recognize the shift even if you didn't announce it. Because pulling back isn't about punishment, it's about preservation. You start choosing what feeds your soul instead of what entertains your time. You start choosing quiet over chaos, clarity over confusion, and effort over excuses. You start creating a world for yourself that doesn't include stress disguised as connection. That alone makes him miss you every single day, because now he realizes that your presence wasn't just physical, it was emotional, it was spiritual, it was a form of peace he didn't know he needed. When you finally protect your peace, you stop reacting to every call, every message, every moment he needs attention. You no longer jump at every opportunity to fix things. You stop fighting to prove your value. You let silence speak for you, and your silence carries weight, because peace always speaks louder than chaos. Every day he feels the weight of that boundary, because now he's confronted with the truth. He had access to someone who brought warmth, understanding, and stability, and he didn't treat it with the care it deserved. Your absence becomes a reminder, not of what changed, but of what he never appreciated in the first place. Peace is not just a boundary, it's a language. It communicates strength, self-worth, and self-awareness. When you choose peace, you choose yourself. You choose not to argue. You choose not to engage in emotional tug of war. You choose not to lose sleep over someone who sleeps peacefully after hurting you. And trust me, when he realizes that his actions no longer have the power to disturb your inner world, that's when he begins to miss you. Not because he's entitled to your peace, but because he remembers what it felt like when he had it in his life. He starts replaying the moments where you were patient, when he was inconsistent, calm when he brought chaos, understanding when he brought confusion. He starts remembering how your presence made everything feel softer, how your energy made life feel a little lighter. But now, he only has the memory of that peace because you reclaimed it. And every day he wakes up to that realization, he feels the loss of something he never should have taken for granted. Not responding instantly creates a kind of distance that makes him feel your absence in a very real way. It's not about ignoring him, it's not about playing games, and it's not about manipulating his emotions. It's about creating healthy space that reminds him you have a life, you have priorities, and you won't always be available at the snap of a finger. When you stop replying immediately, he starts to understand that your time is valuable. He begins to realize that just because he reaches out doesn't mean you'll drop everything to respond. That realization alone makes him miss you in ways he didn't expect, because now he has moments to think, to reflect, and to feel the absence he never noticed before. Instant availability makes people comfortable, sometimes too comfortable. It makes them assume you'll always be there, ready to answer, ready to explain, ready to reassure. But when you take your time, naturally, calmly, confidently, he's forced to sit with his own thoughts. He starts checking his phone more than usual, wondering why you haven't replied yet. He starts replaying his previous message, questioning if he said something wrong or if you're upset, when in reality, you're simply living your life. That's when missing you begins, when he realizes your world doesn't revolve around him. This space you create gives him time to notice the things he overlooked. He notices how light your conversations used to feel. He remembers how your words made him laugh, how your responses brought comfort, how your presence added warmth to his day. Now, every minute that passes without a message from you reminds him of what he once had constant access to. And that feeling hits deeper than any argument ever could. Silence becomes a mirror, reflecting back the value of your presence. Not responding instantly also shows him something powerful about you. You're not dependent on his attention to feel complete. You're not checking your phone every 5 seconds, waiting for him. You're not attaching your worth to whether he messages or not. You're living, you're moving, you're choosing yourself, and that independence is magnetic. It shifts the dynamic because he feels the difference between someone who chases and someone who stands still, centered and confident. And trust me, a man always misses the woman who stands still in her strength more than the one who tries to fill every silence with conversation. When you take your time to respond, you're teaching him how to treat you without saying a single word. You're showing him that communication with you is a privilege, not an obligation. You're showing him that effort matters. You're showing him that your emotional energy shouldn't be taken lightly. And the moment he understands that, he begins to value every message you do send because it no longer feels routine, it feels earned. So that pause, that space, that gentle delay, it becomes the very thing that makes him feel your absence every day. Not because you're withholding love, because you're honoring yourself. And when a woman honors herself, her presence becomes unforgettable, and her silence becomes the place where he starts missing her the most. Prioritizing yourself shows a confidence that pulls him toward you in ways you can't even imagine. When you start putting your own needs, dreams, and goals at the center of your life, something powerful happens. You stop moving like someone who's waiting for approval, waiting for attention, or waiting for someone else to choose you. You move like someone who has already chosen herself. And that kind of energy is magnetic. It draws people in without you trying. It makes him notice you without you speaking. It makes him miss you without you lifting a finger. When you put yourself first, you show him that your happiness is not dependent on him. Nothing makes a man feel your absence more than realizing you no longer depend on his presence. When you start prioritizing yourself, you naturally become harder to access, not because you're avoiding him, but because you're busy building a life that fulfills you. You're spending time improving yourself, investing in your growth, focusing on what gives you joy. You start glowing differently, speaking differently, choosing differently. You move with a sense of purpose that sets you apart from anyone who chases validation. And trust me, that independence, that self-assurance, that quiet confidence, it stays on his mind. He begins to realize that the world doesn't stop when he stops talking. Your life doesn't pause. Your energy doesn't fade. You keep moving, evolving, and shining, and that becomes the very thing that makes him miss you every single day. A woman who prioritizes herself doesn't beg for effort, she attracts it. She doesn't wait for love, she creates abundance in her own world. She doesn't settle for half-hearted attention because she knows she brings too much to the table to accept crumbs. And this shift in mindset hits him deeply. He starts noticing that you're no longer as available as before. He starts wondering what you're doing, who you're becoming, and where your focus is now. He starts realizing that the version of you who used to constantly show up for him is now showing up for herself. And that absence, that gap, that missing energy, that's what keeps you on his mind. When you prioritize yourself, you also change the way you show up in relationships. You're more balanced, more grounded, more selective. You stop overgiving. You stop proving your worth. You stop using your energy to fix situations that were never yours to fix. You move from a place of strength, not fear. You make decisions that protect your peace rather than chase temporary connection. And this new energy forces him to recognize something he didn't see clearly before. You were the blessing, you were the calm, you were the one bringing value. Now that your energy is focused inward, he feels the shift like a wave. Your confidence becomes a reminder of what he's missing. Yourself. Respect becomes the boundary he didn't know he needed. Your growth becomes the distance he can't ignore. And every day, as he watches you prioritizing your life, he realizes that you're no longer revolving around him. You're revolving around your purpose. That's when missing you becomes unavoidable, because nothing stays on a man's mind longer than the woman who loves herself enough to put herself first. Refusing to accept bare, minimum effort forces him to level up in ways he never expected, and that shift becomes the reason he misses you every single day. When you finally decide that low effort, half-hearted gestures, inconsistent communication, and lukewarm attention are not enough for you, you send a message without speaking. You communicate your worth without arguing. You show your standards without explaining. And when a woman stops accepting the bare minimum, it shakes a man more than silence, more than distance, more than any emotional reaction ever could. Because now he is confronted with the truth. Your life, your heart, and your energy require more than convenience. And he either rises to that level or feels the loss deeply. When you stop accepting the bare minimum, you stop waiting for potential. You stop hoping someone will change if you love them harder. You stop giving endless chances to someone who puts in minimum effort. Instead, you start matching energy. You start protecting your time. You start walking away from anything that doesn't align with what you deserve. This shift is powerful because it forces him to see the difference between a woman who tolerates and a woman who requires effort. And that difference stays in his mind for a long time. He starts realizing that he can't keep doing the same old things and still expect access to you. He can't give you scraps and expect loyalty. He can't offer confusion and expect peace. He can't show up sometimes and think it's enough to keep your heart. A woman who no longer accepts the bare minimum becomes unforgettable because she stands out in a world full of people who settle. She shows him what a real standard looks like. She makes him understand that love should come with consistency, attention, intention, and presence. When you walk away from low effort, you break the pattern he got comfortable with. Suddenly, he can't predict your reactions. He can't depend on your forgiveness. He can't assume you'll be there no matter how little he gives. That uncertainty, that shift, that disruption, it makes him miss you every day because he feels the absence of something he thought he'd never lose. When you demand more, you are teaching him what love should look like. You're showing him that you deserve conversations filled with clarity, not confusion. You deserve planning, not last-minute texts. You deserve honesty, not excuses. You deserve consistency, not cycles. And the moment he realizes you are no longer entertained by the bare minimum, his understanding of you changes. He starts seeing the depth of your value, the strength of your independence, the power of your standards. And those thoughts linger long after you stop speaking. He begins replaying moments when you accepted small efforts just to keep the peace. Now he notices how unfair it was. He begins remembering the times you were present even when he was distracted. Now he recognizes what he took for granted. He begins realizing the softness of your loyalty, the comfort of your presence, the warmth of your support. Now he feels how empty things are without it. And every day that he doesn't receive a message from you, every day he doesn't hear your voice, every day you live your life without needing his attention, he feels the boundary you set. Refusing to accept the bare minimum forces him to face the truth of who you really are. Woman who loves deeply but will never lower her standards to keep anyone. A woman who gives her heart fully but will protect it fiercely. A woman who knows her worth too well to settle for less than she deserves. And that kind of woman becomes the one he misses. Not just sometimes, every single day. Walking away from disrespect becomes the strongest boundary he feels every single day because it shows him a version of you he never believed he would lose. When you finally decide that you will not tolerate words that cut, actions that confuse, behavior that wounds, or patterns that drain your spirit, you create a line he can't cross anymore. And that line becomes the reason he misses you. Not because you punished him, not because you tried to teach him a lesson, because you honored yourself in a way that silently taught him everything he needed to know. Disrespect is the moment that destroys connection. Walking away from it is the moment that builds your strength. And when you walk away, you take something with you, your dignity, your peace, presence. And he feels that absence every single day. When you choose to walk away from disrespect, you send a powerful message. I know who I am, and I won't let you treat me less than that. This isn't about being dramatic or harsh. It's not about proving a point. It's about protecting the most valuable part of you, your heart. Disrespect chips away at a person slowly. It makes you doubt yourself. It makes you question your worth. It forces you to shrink to keep someone else comfortable. But when you walk away from it, you reclaim everything that was slipping through your fingers. You regain your voice, your confidence, your inner calm. And when he realizes that the disrespect he once brushed off cost him access to you, that realization hits deeper than anything else. People remember the moment you stop arguing, the moment you stop explaining, the moment you stop fighting to be understood. Because silence after disrespect is powerful. It is clarity, it is strength, it is a boundary that cannot be mistaken. Before, he may have thought you'd always come back. He may have assumed that your love meant unlimited tolerance. But walking away wipes away that illusion. He starts to feel the weight of his own actions. He starts to understand that every dismissive comment, every broken promise, every moment of neglect had consequences, and now he is living with those consequences every day. Walking away from disrespect changes the energy between you. Suddenly, you're not reaching out, you're not checking in, you're not waiting for him to fix things. You're not trying to hold together what he kept breaking. Instead, you are healing. You are focusing on yourself. You are rebuilding your emotional world without him at the center. And that shift in your energy becomes the reason he misses you so intensely. Because now he sees a woman who loved deeply, but loved herself more. A woman who gave him chances, but not at the cost of her identity. A woman who walked away not because she stopped caring, because she started caring about herself. He starts remembering the moments he dismissed. The times you stayed quiet to keep peace, effort you made, the softness you offered, the loyalty you carried so naturally. Now that he no longer has it, he feels the emptiness where your presence used to be.